I will bring you a fresh glass of water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, it works. I will also use the microphone.
Yeah, but you have to stand somewhere here, so just these microphones don't interfere.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So, I would like to start with saying that my presentation, well, first of all, a few words about myself. I'm not a data manager. I'm not a professional in managing the data or in data privacy either. I would like to present you an organization which is working on cybersecurity at a European level. And I would like to show you how we work through a collaborative approach and to help us understand and better implement regulations such as Gdpr. So, in 2016, the European Commission decided to launch a public-private partnership on cybersecurity. Together with several industry partners, we established an association called the European Cybersecurity Organization. And we signed, in July 2016, a contractual partnership, public-private partnership with the European Commission on cybersecurity at a European level. Now, to go quickly through the beginning of the organization, usually a public-private partnership, there are currently 9 up and running public-private partnerships at a European level that have a contract with the European Commission. Ours was created in 4 months, and we started with 132 founding members, which is quite considerable. And we decided to say not only to focus on research and innovation, on developing a strategic research and innovation agenda and providing research priorities to the European Commission for the next H2020 calls, but we also decided to look into how to stimulate the cybersecurity industry and how to coordinate digital security industrial resources in Europe. So as you can see here, the budget of the contract, the European Commission has put 450 million euros out of the H2020 framework program on the table, and our members are expected to, and market players are expected to invest 3 times more, according to this contract that we have. Now, ECSO is this supporting association. We represent the private side of this public-private partnership with the European Commission. Oops. All right. So there are a lot of words in there, but I'd like to summarize the fact that ECSO is unique in 2 ways. First of all, if I had to summarize ECSO in 1 sentence, it would be an organization that is pan-European, multi-sectoral, cross-sectoral, and multi-stakeholder partnership organization. The first is, the first reason why we're a bit different than the other PPPs is because we are looking far beyond research and innovation priorities, and we're also tackling industrial policy aspects. And the second reason is because inside of our membership base, we also have national public administrations. So we can call ourselves a little public-private, a PPP within a PPP. Already inside of ECSO, we have national public administrations working together with large companies, SMEs, research centers, universities, end users, operators, to advise the European Commission on several legislations, or to and to provide deliverables and to foster collaboration among several of these stakeholders. So we started, well, this is a bit long, but we started by submitting two main documents. The first document was a strategic research and innovation agenda that we proposed to the European Commission in the framework of the H2020, the upcoming H2020 calls. The second document was related to industry challenges and industry proposal. So this is a basic overview of where we started at in 2016. This is an overview of cybersecurity challenges for the European industry. And where we are at in 2018. So, as of today, cybersecurity is still a growing issue and is still a global issue. We're facing a phenomenon called digitalization of the industry, which basically touches all kinds of sectors. There is also a convergence between IT and OT, so information technologies and operational technologies, which is very much underlined under the Gdpr currently. Risk management is still a challenge, and we have to work on raising awareness to all kinds of stakeholders about the importance of cybersecurity. Now, in parallel, this is how the policy at European level kind of evolved, starting from 2011 up till now, and we're talking, and we see here the NIS directive and the GDPR regulation. Now we're working on the MFF, which is the multi-financial framework, the budget of the European Commission, and how they're going to spend their next budget tackling several issues, including cybersecurity. So I'm going to go through these. So a quick overview of the organization as of today. So we started in 2016, and as of today we have 236 organizations that are members of ECSO across 29 countries. It's a big one, so it's sometimes a bit difficult to follow and to manage all these members. But each and every one of them come to ECSO with their own requirements, their own challenges, their own needs, and they want to tackle cybersecurity together. Now was the main challenge at the beginning, was to bring stakeholders, different stakeholders that have never even talked to one another, and start talking about, industry and about legislation. Now, this is a quick view of the governance of the association. It looks quite difficult to understand, because it is actually quite of a complicated governance. But as you can see, we have here all the categories of type of members that we have. We have SME, solution service providers, clusters and associations of startups, incubators. We have other bodies such as financing bodies, insurance companies. We have large companies, which are solution providers, and national European organizations. We have regions, local administrations, and we have public or private users, such as operators, which can be also large companies and SMEs. We have national public authorities, and research centers and universities and their associations. Now, all of these different stakeholders, which are basically the main stakeholders when we talk about cybersecurity, they all work in great harmony across various working groups that we have set up. Now, I haven't talked about GDPR so far, but I'm getting there. First of all, we have 6 working groups. First one, looking into standardization, certification, labeling, supply chain management. The second one is looking into market deployment, investment, and international collaboration. The third one is looking into all the sectoral demand and vertical applications of cybersecurity. So as you can see, we have outlined here all the 8 sub-working groups that we have. Working group number 4, we're looking on how to support SMEs and how to better facilitate coordination with regions and countries to get funds or to get training or to facilitate the digitalization of their processes. Working group number 5, we're looking into education, training, how to raise awareness and put together exercises among different stakeholders. And working group number 3, we're looking into research and innovation. So as you can see, this association has set up a holistic approach to cybersecurity. Now, what does this have to do with GDPR? Well, first of all, GDPR, I mean, one of the articles, one of the first articles that I read was Article 5, kind of sums it up. Personal data shall be processed in a manner that ensures appropriate security of the personal data. What does it mean in terms of cybersecurity? It means that technical and operational measures must be taken. So data controllers are required to carefully think about the ways that they effectively secure personal data. They need to start doing risk assessment and mitigation plans in case of a breach. They need to stay aware of the state-of-the-art in technology and also the cost of implementing that technology into the daily operational processes. So, and of course, in this hyper-connected world, this entire digitalization we magnify the potential attack surface. And it's becoming more and more difficult to secure the networks. We're introducing, also GDPR introduces the use of encryption and pseudo-anonymization of personal data, which also can translate in setting up and in developing new technologies, new services, new solutions. So, and they also need to develop robust data processing strategies, implementing protocols between the controller and the processor. So basically, what does GDPR do? It increases individuals' expectation of data privacy and the organization's obligations to follow these and establish cybersecurity practices in order to secure this data that they are handling and managing. It requires also organizations that are not necessarily aware of, oh God, what is my, cybersecurity? What does that mean? And how am I going to be, cyber secure? And how am I going to protect that data? They also, on top of that, need to appoint a data protection officer, which is good. I mean, we need to. But this person will be involved in regular and systematic monitoring of data subject on a large scale. So there is a creation of a new role within an organization. It also enshrines privacy by design as a required standard practice in all activities involved protecting personal data. What does it all mean for the future of cybersecurity, and how is the digital economy going to be impacted by the GDPR? So, from an industry point of view, we can say in a very simplistic way, oh, GDPR, maybe, I mean, this could be a positive development for the industry, because now a lot of people are going to need, services and ways to protect data, and we're going to be able to have more and more clients. It would also force companies to pay closer attention on, on how to secure the data, on how to manage the data, and how to be cyber secure. So ultimately, cybersecurity and GDPR have this common denominator, which is data management. Now, looking into all of the working groups that we have in ECSO, and looking through this holistic approach that we've developed, we see that, for example, GDPR has a close implication to what has been done so far in our working group number 1, which is related to standards, certification, labeling, trust supply chain. I believe it's Article 42, which is in GDPR, which talks about certification. Now, the European Commission is looking into how to develop a European certification scheme of ICT devices and components for ICT in general. So we have been very much focusing on this the last year, on how to develop a meta scheme for certification. This can also be sorry, I got distracted. So this meta scheme is actually looking into not only components, but it's all looking into how to certify processes, how to certify services, and how to certify organizations. So it's an overall approach to certification. Our working group number 3, as you can imagine, I mean, this is the working group which is related to, tackles all the different areas of application of cybersecurity. Now, we have Industry 4.0, energy, transport, finance, and finance services like banks, public administrations, such as e-government issues, e-health, smart cities, telecom, and content media. So all of these sectors are going to be need to address GDPR, as well as some of the sectors need to also address the NIS directive. How does these two regulations going to be, this regulation and this directive going to be combined, for example, in the way that we're going to exchange information or do reporting? Now, in this working group, what is the most important is that we allow operators of critical infrastructures, and we provide the right area, the fora for various operators of critical infrastructures, but also essential services, to come together and discuss with one another about what are the common requirements for security. Another working group, which is also, which is also quite important, is the one looking into education. Now, previously I mentioned the fact that organizations are going to have to hire DPOs or appoint DPOs and other very, specific person who is going to ensure that the data is well managed, that data is well protected. But do we have the right skills, and do we have the right skill set today in experts? Do we have the right experts today to really tackle these kinds of issues, the cybersecurity issues within a company? Or is the next generation well educated enough about the importance of data protection and data privacy and cybersecurity and the importance of it? And the final working group I would like to look into is research and innovation. In the scope of our contract with the European Commission, we have submitted, as I said earlier, a strategic research and innovation agenda. A strategic research and innovation agenda in which we suggest to the European Commission to also tackle in the next calls data security and privacy technologies, but also distributed identity and trust management, as well as user-centric security and privacy, which is actually currently referenced throughout Secure Society's work package of H2020 calls. And we're continuing to amend this strategic research and innovation agenda and propose amendments to the European Commission as we go. So, as a conclusion, I have 4 conclusions. The first one is that we need to raise awareness. GDPR is an opportunity to educate and to train throughout sectors and throughout stakeholders the importance of cybersecurity and how they can protect their businesses, but also their personal data. The second conclusion is be adaptable. Today you have to comply with GDPR, but tomorrow you have to adapt also, and never forget that cybersecurity is an evolving threat. I mean, cyber attacks are evolving threats, and so you need to adapt to the threat landscape of tomorrow. And my third conclusion is to keep a holistic approach. As we can see, GDPR has implications in certification mechanisms, in research and innovation, and how are we going to exchange information, but also on education. And my final conclusion would be, it is important, and we've seen it with ECSO, to continue to collaborate and to make sure that all the stakeholders communicate with one another so that they can share best practices, so that they can learn from one another, so that they can better also the upcoming regulations. And it is also important not to have this public-private partnership established at a European level, but also at a national level and being replicated and mirrored at a national level. So this concludes my presentation.
Oh yeah, thank you. Questions? Do I see hands? Okay, now I have a question for you. They will come up.
I think I was coming from a different place.
Yeah, they will come up with some. Look, there was one slide which got me thinking. On that slide, you were tackling some of the real cybersecurity issues we are, at the national level and international level trying to fight. I mean, one thing is GDPR that affects how we treat consumers and so on. Another thing is a real cybersecurity threats to power grids, rail grids, nuclear plants, etc. Now, do you see that GDPR as a general will have positive implications on the general cybersecurity scene in terms of protecting power, energy, and things like that?
Now, I think that GDPR, as I said in the presentation, is going to raise awareness throughout. Not necessarily, because critical infrastructures are already preparing themselves in, how to implement the NIS directive, for example, and have a certain level of security in place. I think GDPR is going to, I have the word in French, but I don't have it in English, so popularize, not democratize, but maybe more...
Popularize?
Popularize, exactly. Thank you.
I don't know. Is this the right translation? But obviously we gotcha.
Very simplistically, yes. It was going to popularize the importance of having safe and secure networks and working in a secure environment and making sure that your business is secure to a certain degrees. I mean, security is something that is, 100% security is something that is unattainable, but that your business has somehow the right, is using the right tools to secure its its business and its clients' data, and that even the citizen knows, you know, when giving consent, it is important for them also to be aware that, you know, how is my data being secured, and is everything done correctly?
And you have the education component,
Exactly.
work group number 3, if I remember correctly, or how do you call those?
The working groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the education is a big part of actually.
The education is a big part of it, of raising awareness.
Yeah.
To a wider population, to the citizens, but all the way also to training professionals.
Okay.
In, you know, in taking the role of DPO, for example, inside of a company. I mean, personally, I don't have, as I said at the beginning, I don't have any experience in how to manage data, for example, and it's quite difficult to see, you know, what would be the right set of skills to have for these people.
Well, it's a good thing you mentioned you didn't have any proper knowledge of how to handle the data properly. I would say we handled it as a property, and obviously currently for some reason it's not anymore the case. Okay, Ida, I would like to thank you very much for a great presentation. Here's a nice certificate or a thank you note you can hang up on the wall, and of course some nice souvenirs from Latvia, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. My colleagues will be thrilled.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Ida.
Thank you so much.
Okay.